find what it is I should know. 'Cause it's just a matter of time that you'll reawaken your mind. Oh, come with me, come to know and find out what is true. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living a lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening mine. Come to know and find out what is true. Yeah. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living a lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening mine.
Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. This is a very special segment, very serious subject, a press conference that involves a very serious topic. I am not going to give a lot of introduction. Just want to let you know that tonight the information that is coming forth is of a timely manner, and we are in a crisis in that we must come together, unify, and correct a lot of mis and disinformation. With that, I'd like to welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G, Lamont Maurice L. et al., who will discuss facts over emotions, equal truth, Moorish Americans and citizens of the United States of America. Welcome back to Office Hours with Dr. G. For some reason, I guess the universe wanted to hear the reawakening minds thing too. So we got a little bit of both because it is about reawakening the minds of our people. And thank you so much for coming, Consul General, for coming, you and all of the members of your consulate to be with us tonight to talk about a very timely and serious matter, timely matter that all of us need to listen and figure out our path forward. So with that, Consul General, I turn it over to you. Let me see. I can't hear. We can't hear you, Brother Majesty Kadar Bey. You're muted.
Test. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in for this press conference. We will be addressing the state of foreign relations and intercourse between Moorish Americans and the citizens of the United States of America. I'm Majesty Kadar Bey. I hold the office of Consul of Morocco, Maghrib, Al-Aqsa at the Oregon State Republic. For all those who may not be aware of the Arabic term, Maghrib Al-Aqsa simply means Morocco, the farthest, the furthest west. This term is said in order to distinguish and exercise consular jurisdiction from that of the Consulate General of the King of Morocco, which is also a part of the Moroccan Empire. You will be hearing from the Office of the Consul General of Morocco, Maghrib Al-Aqsa, which includes Adil Zakat Sadid Bey and Lamont Maurice L. Adil Zakat Sadid Bey holds the office of Vice Consul of Morocco, Maghrib Al-Aqsa. He will be addressing the international controversy that took place on July 3rd, 2021, which involves Jamal Talib Abdullah Bey and some of the members of the organization known as the Rise of the Moors, and several foreign European colonists acting as police officers of the private de facto corporation entity, Massachusetts State Police Department. This event also includes Lamont Maurice L., who was also on the phone with Jamal and several members of the police, the police department at Massachusetts State Police Department in order to exercise consular jurisdiction for the protection of Jamal and several members of rise of the Moorish organization. In addition, Vice Consul Adil will address the diversity of citizenship between Moorish American nationals and citizens of the United States of America, and most importantly, the misrepresentation and slander of our Moorish Americans nationals by the false colored allegations of several foreign policemen and representatives of the private foreign de facto corporation entity named Massachusetts State Police Department and Southern Poverty Law Center, as well as the anchormen and anchorwomen of the several foreign news media companies. Following Vice Consul Adil will be Lamont Maurice, who holds the office of Consul General of Morocco, Maghrib, Al-Aqsa. He will be given a statement of the international controversy, which took place on July 3rd, 2021, from firsthand knowledge and experience. The Consul General, Lamont Maurice, will speak on the events that occurred on June 17th, 2021, near the corporate Charles County, Maryland State Republic, which includes the successful release of our Moorish national, Jabbar Abdul El, from unlawful imprisonment, and which caused a stalemate of human trafficking and colonial operations done by the foreign members of the representatives of the private foreign de facto corporation known as the District Court of Charles County, the Charles County Sheriff Department, the Charles County Detention Center, the Office of the State's Attorney for Charles County, and the State of Maryland. We encourage the public to visit enforcetheconstitution.org/consular-court-cases. Once there, you'll be able to click on traffic courts and habeas corpus cases, traffic cases and habeas corpus cases. There you will be able to follow the paper trail that will include the certified order issued from the consular officer of Morocco Consular Court at the Maryland State Republic, which caused the release of Jabbar Abdul El and the unconstitutional traffic case to be dismissed with prejudice for a lack of jurisdiction and fraud. There are also 2 videos on the habeas corpus page, which the public is encouraged to watch. So do your research, do your investigation, and you can start there. I now present Vice Consul Adil Zakat Sadid Bey.
Thank you, Majesty Kadar. Islam and greetings to everyone. I wish to bring your attention to the importance of addressing specific details relating to the international events that took place on July 3rd, 2021. On July 3rd, 2021, at 6:19 a.m., I received a phone call from Consul General Lamont Maurice, who informed me about his contact with Jamal, which began at 3:56 a.m. Lamont stated he witnessed Jamal on a live video stream on the YouTube channel, quote unquote, Rise of the Moors, making a verbal plea to an unidentified policeman of the foreign Massachusetts, asserting that he, Jamal, and the members of his association have a treaty with the alleged government of the Massachusetts State Police. Jamal appeared to be alluding to the United States of North America. While speaking, Jamal was pointing to the Moroccan flag being held by 2 members of his organization while standing in the middle of the highway referred to as I-95. Lamont stated he observed at the end of the live video, Jamal announced his telephone number to a distant unidentified policeman of foreign Massachusetts State Police in efforts to establish communication between the 2 parties. Lamont further stated he then proceeded to make contact in efforts to give consular assistance according to Article 20 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire in order to settle what appeared to be a dispute between Jamal and the representatives of the foreign Massachusetts State Police Department. Lamont further informed me that when he made contact with Jamal, he asked Jamal if he would like to invoke his treaty right to consular jurisdiction so that he, Lamont, can provide the necessary assistance and make contact with the necessary chain of command with the foreign Massachusetts State Police Department. According to the statements made by Lamont, Jamal agreed to consular assistance, and Lamont then instructed Jamal to declare to the unidentified policeman that he is invoking his treaty rights to consular jurisdiction, which Jamal did. At that point, Lamont stated, and he proceeded to contact the representatives of the Massachusetts State Police Department and spoke with several representatives, which included 3 males purporting to be lieutenants between 4:42 and 6:07 a.m. Lamont will provide details regarding his involvement in this international incident momentarily. I now want to be addressing the diversity of citizenship between the Moorish American nationals and the citizens of the United States, and the misrepresentation of our Moorish American nationality done by several foreign hybrid European colonists and stateless persons subjects coming under the classification of U.S. citizenship within purview of the unconstitutional 14th Amendment. A couple of points to be made aware and very clear for the record. 1, the fraudulent misrepresented designation, quote unquote, sovereign citizens does not and cannot apply to Moorish American nationals, for the term, quote unquote, sovereign citizens allude to a fictitious entity under the de facto 14th Amendment and is also an oxymoron statement. 2, Moorish American nationals are in harmony with the ancient principles of their ancient foremothers and forefathers and are not anti-government, quote unquote. For all citizens of the human race are recognized throughout the world in a public and political form by way of international treaties, constitutions of which Moors are recognized as, quote unquote, known parties in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1786-1787, superseded by the 1836 Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire. So, with regards to the diversity of citizenship, nationals upon a political forum must be identified as known parties. So in harmony to the statements that were made, which we are clearly making the distinction as that sovereign citizens do not apply and is not a designation to any nation whatsoever. So it also alludes to the 14th Amendment status under the Black Codes, which is unconstitutional in accordance to the congressional records. Proof of this statement will be coming from the congressional records. Proceedings and debates of the 90th Congress, first session, volume 113, part 12, held on June 12, 1967 to June 20th, 1967, pages 15309 to 16558. And I would direct your attention to, on this document of the congressional records, page 1564, 15641. The 14th Amendment is unconstitutional. The purpose, the purported 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution is and should be held to be ineffective, invalid, null, void, and unconstitutional. The proposed 14th Amendment was rejected by more than 1/4 of all the states then in the Union, and it was never ratified by 3/4 of all the states in the Union, according to Article 5. Also, for the following reasons: 1, the joint resolution proposing said amendment was not submitted to or adopted by a constitutional Congress. Article 1, Section 3, and Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. 2, the joint resolution was not submitted to the President for his approval. Article 1, Section 7. So, according to these documents here, which you can find in the congressional records, this is proof that clearly identifies that sovereign citizens is and cannot be attached to a national or nationality or the identity of national people. It is also, again, a colorful, fictitious construct which will be constructed within the guise of the 14th Amendment, which therefore we have proven that is unconstitutional. So for any so-called media outlet or any person that would make the statement that Moorish Americans are considered sovereign citizens are committing a treaty violation by denationalizing it. So what I will continue to do now is I would turn this over to Consul General Lamont Maurice so he can fill you in with the details as pertains to the communication that he had with Jamal and the foreign Massachusetts State Police Department.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you. I would like to speak on the international controversy that took place on July 3rd, 2021, and shed light on some of the colonial operations and genocide against the Aboriginal and Indigenous Moorish Americans that are taking place here at the Maghrib Al-Aqsa, Morocco, the furthest west, which we all know today as North America. On July 3rd, 2021, at approximately 2:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I was made aware of a live video stream titled Peaceful on the YouTube channel belonging to the organization called Rise of the Moors. As I tuned in, I witnessed Jamal Tarib Abdullah Bey speaking with an unidentified person purporting to be a policeman of the private foreign de facto corporation known as Massachusetts State Police. Jamal has previously declared himself to be a Moorish American national in several other YouTube videos. I noticed in the video that Jamal was standing in the middle of the highway on I-95 North near mile marker 57.4 at the Massachusetts State Republic jurisdiction, along with two other members of the organization known as Rise of the Moors. Both of the two members were holding the Moroccan flag. In the video, Jamal announced to the unidentified policeman that they are not anti-government and that their nation, while pointing to the Moroccan flag, has a treaty with the government of the unidentified policeman. Jamal also announced that he and his members were being extra careful as to not violate the federal laws of the United States. Jamal then asserted that there were about 12 police vehicles on the scene while directing his camera to the vehicles in the front and rear of where he and his members were located. He also asked for the viewers to call the local news media to help bring awareness to the present situation. Jamal also claimed that he and his members have identified themselves with documentation given to the policeman. Later in the same video, Jamal claimed that there were men loading their firearms in the woods, while you can hear in the background one of the men holding the Moroccan flag announce that they were foreign nationals and that the police were in violation of the Constitution. Another member of the Rise of the Moors organization claimed that one of the policemen were pointing their loaded sniper rifle directly at him, and he asked the policeman for a lieutenant to be present on the scene so that they can request an audience with him or her. Later in the video, I noticed that there were more members that were affiliated with Jamal and the other two members that I mentioned earlier. Jamal announced that the police would get Jamal announced to the police if they would get a lieutenant to speak with them. Jamal then yelled his telephone number to the several policemen that, so that the lieutenant would contact him on his cell phone. At that time, I determined that I was witnessing an international controversy between Moorish Americans and citizens of the United States of America, and that the Moorish Americans were in danger. At 3:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I made contact with Jamal via the phone number he provided in the video, and I identified to him who I was and the office I represent. I also asked him if he would like for me to exercise consular jurisdiction over the present international controversy in order to ensure that the treaty obligations in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire are upheld and enforced? And he said yes. From 3:56 a.m. to 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I spoke with Jamal, various lieutenants, and personnel of the Foreign Corporate Massachusetts State Police, and a male and female of the Rise of the Moors organization. When speaking to the lieutenants, I identified myself and my involvement in the international controversy, which was to exercise consular jurisdiction over Jamal and the members of the Rise of the Moors organization in order to ensure their safety and to make sure that their treaty rights are upheld and not violated. Jamal also invoked his treaty rights to consular jurisdiction and introduced me to the lieutenants as the Consul General of Morocco while on the telephone. The lieutenants confirmed my position and began to speak with me about their side of the incident. During our conversations and on the various YouTube videos, Jamal can be seen began to identify himself. Jamal began to identify the policemen and lieutenants of the Foreign Massachusetts State Police as officers and requested that he and his members be given a summons to come to court so that they can peacefully leave and come to court at a later date. At that point, I was unable to continue to exercise consular jurisdiction over the international controversy due to Jamal verbally abandoning his treaty rights to consular jurisdiction, whether knowingly or unknowingly, by announcing the several policemen to be officers, which puts them in office over Jamal and his estate by appointment. Thus and therefore, Jamal, whether he knew or not, abandoned his treaty right to consular jurisdiction. At 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I spoke with a male and female member of the Rise of the Moors organization. And I'm going to keep their identity and not reveal it due anonymous. Anonymous, due to their right to privacy and with honor to their right of privacy. So as I was saying, I spoke with a male and female member of the Rise of the Moors organization, who then informed me that Jamal and the other members at the scene was kidnapped by the policemen. I then explained to them the conversations I had with Jamal and the lieutenants and why I was halted from exercising consular jurisdiction over the matter. I then offered them, the two members, consular advice on what they can still do to assist Jamal. The members said they understood and would keep me up to date with the situation. And at a later time, the two members texted me and said that there was another Moorish American that was competent and that they would be using his services, which ultimately meant they did not want the service of consular jurisdiction to be exercised by myself and the consulate. From the principles of controversy, whenever there is a controversy or dispute, the first issue that needs to be addressed in law is the identification and status of all parties. From what I witnessed on the several YouTube videos, I can give a general description of the parties involved. Based on immediate assumption and the information provided to me by Jamal and the members of the Rise of the Moors organization are all generally Moors or Moorish Americans that were traveling on the highway and flying the Moroccan flag as their signal of communication to be known under the law of flags in accordance with Article 4 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States of America, or not United States of North America, and the Moroccan Empire. The police and representatives of the private foreign de facto corporation known as Massachusetts State Police are foreign Occidental European colonists, being corporate stock citizens of the defunct corporate United States who are occupying land that is not their own by way of colonial operations. Those among the foreign Occidental European colonists that were allegedly exercising the jurisdictional powers of government on the land as constitutional officers can only be valid and lawful by way of treaty and constitutional law, and not color of law. Therefore, the international dispute between the two parties was to be decided by consul in a consular court and venue, pursuant to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire, and pursuant to Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution for the United States of North America. We, being my officers and myself, have not received a deposition statement from Jamal or any of the members of the Rise of the Moors organization on all things that took place. Nevertheless, for informational purposes, by principle of law, there was no immediate note that Jamal and members of the Rise of the Moors organization violated any treaty or constitution. And I'll stop here for a second and explain. This is basically the point of colonial operations. Whenever Aboriginal and Indigenous Moors are exercising their right to travel, their rights, that is, are deprived under color of law, which is known as traffic law. And according to the color of law known as traffic law, in order for you to travel, you have to have permission from a foreign corporation known as or styled as state of, for an example, state of Massachusetts, state of Maryland, state of Georgia, etc. And they misconstrue, and when I say they, I'm talking about the representatives of such corporations, misconstrue travel to be driving on purpose, although it is clearly known among all scholars around the world and all people around the world that know how to read that the word driver is a commercial word and it has nothing to do with travel. All right. Continuing. Oh, and also I want to mention that the right of the people to keep and bear arms, which shall not be infringed, is a universal right known around the world. That universal right is guaranteed to be secured under the Second Amendment. Thus and therefore, there is no requirement for a gun permission, also known as a gun permit or a gun license, to compel the people to such instrument is a deprivation of rights under color of law, because the Second Amendment clearly states that the right of the people to be to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, but to compel a people to have a driver's license, a gun license, is to infringe on the right to keep and bear arms. And that is stare decisis, which means it has already been decided by we the people. And the preamble, just to make clear, we the people of the United States, as it is written in the present Constitution for the United States of North America, is referring to the people in the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress consisted of 35 Aboriginal and Indigenous sovereign Moors and 20 foreign hybrid European colonists that represented the states or the colonies at that time and in the Continental Congress of 1774, 1776, as well as 1781, under the Articles of Confederation. So we must all know and be aware of our status and our standing in the Constitution, all right? Because the Constitution was not written by foreign hybrid European colonists, all right? No nation of people can come to another nation of people's land by way of treaty and begin to draft the supreme law of the land for that land. That is unheard of, that is unconstitutional, and that is notwithstanding, and that is far from the truth. Therefore, Jamal and the members of the Rise of the Moors organization are being held hostage for profit under a bill of attainder, which is unconstitutional pursuant to Article 1, Sections 9 and 10 of the Constitution for the United States of North America. Pursuant to Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition, on page 150, bill of attainder are known as legislative acts, no matter what their form, that apply either to named individuals or to easily ascertainable members of a group in such a way as to inflict punishment on them without a judicial trial. All judicial trials are held by constitutional courts of competent jurisdiction that are ordained and established by Congress by way of a delegation of authority order per Article 3, Sections 1 and 2 of the Constitution for the United States of North America, which states, Section 1, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2, the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same states claiming lands under grants of different states, between a state or the citizen thereof and foreign states, citizens, or subjects. Excuse me. One second, my throat dry. All disputes between Moors and citizens of the United States are to be settled by consul in a consular court pursuant to Articles 20 and 21 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire, which states, Article 20, if any of the citizens of the United States or any persons under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties. And whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. Article 21, if a citizen of the United States shall kill or wound a Moor, or, on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take place and equal justice shall be rendered, the consul assisting at the trial. And if any delinquent shall make his escape, the consul shall not be answerable for him in any manner whatsoever. It should also be noted that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire, which is the current treaty that is in full force under Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution for the United States of North America, superseded the 50-year Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787 between the United States of America and His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Morocco. The Treaty of 1787 predates the Constitution for the United States of North America, which was adopted by the United States of America in 1789 and ratified by the several Republican states of the Union in 1791, with its 10 amendments under the Bill of Rights. The Treaty of 1787 was also the first and longest standing treaty in the history of the United States of America, and was put in force in order to permit the citizens of the United States of America to conduct amity and commerce within the dominions of the Moroccan Empire, per Article 23 of the said treaty, which states, Article 23, the Consul of the United States of America shall reside in any seaport of our dominions that they shall think proper, and they shall be respected and enjoy all the privileges which the consuls of any other nation enjoy. And if any of the citizens of the United States shall contract any debts or engagements, the consul shall not be in any manner accountable for them, unless he shall have given a promise in writing for the payment or fulfilling thereof, without which promise in writing no application to him for any redress shall be made. The Treaty of 1787 lasted only for 50 years and was at that time superseded by the Treaty of 1836 and the 50-year mandate under the Article 25 in the Treaty of 1787 was updated in the Treaty of 1836 to state, Article 25, this treaty shall continue in force with the help of God for 50 years, after the expiration of which term the treaty shall continue to be binding on both parties until the one shall give 12 months notice to the other of an intention to abandon it, in which case its operations shall cease at the end of the 12 months. Therefore, our Treaty of 1836 with the United States of North America still stands and is still in force under the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution for the United States of North America under Article 6, Clause 2, which states, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So the colorable claims made in the media against Jamal and the members of the Rise of the Moorish organization by the foreign Occidental European colonists purporting to be policemen of the private foreign de facto corporation known as Massachusetts State Police and others are unconstitutional, notwithstanding, and are made under the Black Code, which is the color of law for colored persons. Pursuant to Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition, on page 154, the Black Code is identified as a name given collectively to the body of laws, statutes, and rules in force in various southern states prior to 1865, which regulated the institution of slavery. This means that the Black Code is a colonial operation classification system applied to all stateless persons branded as Black, African American, Indian, Ethiopian, Latino, Puerto Rican, Costa Rican, etc., and designed to denationalize the Aboriginal Moors of the Americas that have clung to the principles of slavery by believing that they are U.S. citizens under the plausible 14th Amendment U.S. Corporate Citizenship Clause. It should be noted that such brand names are not an identity or pedigree, but are in fact brand names for colonial operations that were put into place under color of law and incorporated in the unconstitutional 14th Amendment in order to denationalize and to exploit the naive and unaware Aboriginal and indigenous peoples of the land for human trafficking, peonage, escheat, and genocide purposes. Now, for the sake of what has been happening for our people for over 400 years, I will now read from Article 2 of the International Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crimes of Genocide of 1948. Article 2. In the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. A, killing members of the group. Is that not what was done for over 400 years to our people? Whether we are declared Moorish Americans or undeclared Moors that are branded Negro, Black, Colored, African American, etc. Yes, it is. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. That includes stress, that includes slander in the media, that also includes the things that are, I mean, there's so many things. All of the things that basically delude to us being in a subservient position on our own land. All right. C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Well, all you have to do is go to one of our, what they would consider lower class societies and communities, go to the store, to a supermarket, or to a fast food joint, or to a liquor store, or to a gas station, and you can simply read the ingredients of the things that they call food. All of the ingredients are actually chemicals designed to destroy and genocide the natural, Aboriginal, and indigenous people of the land, as well as the thing that I'm not going to mention by name that begins with a V that they're promoting, that their de facto Congress just recently announced that such item that people are putting inside of them that are foreign to their constitutional body, their makeup, are not what they claim to be, but are actually an experiment. All right, that's called genocide. D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Well, that go along with what I just said in regards to the letter C. And E, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. There is actually a case or a dispute with one of our sisters who is also a declared Moorish American national, named Sade, whose infant child was kidnapped during what I believe was a car accident, from what I can remember, and is being held hostage for profit by I believe I forgot what the agency is called. Nevertheless, the agency is foreign to the land and is de facto, and its operations are unconstitutional. Nevertheless, that is only one example of the forcibly transferring children of our people, our family units, and when I say family, I'm connotatively speaking, and our nation to that of foreign hybrid European colonists, right? As we have all witnessed for over 400 years, our people have suffered from acts of genocide here at North America and all over the world due to colonialism practices and operations. And we are here now ready to put an end to such operations under consular jurisdiction. In other news, our Moorish American national, Javad Abdul Adel El, who was once held hostage for profit, he was released from unlawful imprisonment under consular jurisdiction per the writ of habeas corpus, acts of disciendum, and other orders issued by our Morocco Consular Court at the Maryland State Republic. This story, as well as the video footage explaining the incident, can be found, as we stated earlier, online at enforcetheconstitution.org. When on the website, you will click on habeas corpus cases to see 2 videos explaining and showing the incident, as well as the paper trail of the certified orders for his release. You can also click on traffic cases to see the case summary of the case showing it was dismissed with prejudice for lack of jurisdiction and fraud. That is not the only victory that we had that is reflecting on the website enforcetheconstitution.org. We have victories from other Moorish Americans around North America who was at the time losing their property and sought consular assistance in helping protect their property from de facto colonial operations, also called escheat. And they made adverse claim to the property. They also challenged the jurisdiction of the venue that was purported to be a court, and found out that the venue was not a court, but that they are all actually private, de facto foreign corporations operating de facto as courts, but they are not courts. All courts are creatures of the Constitution and are ordained and established by Congress under Article 3, Sections 1 and 2 of the Constitution for the United States of America. In other words, if the venue that is claiming to be a court, it does not have a delegation, a certified delegation of authority order from Congress, then it is not court, and the member representatives of such venue are committing fraud and are impersonating judicial officers. Right? We all have to know that. It's not about anybody's opinion. It is not about anybody's emotion. It has everything to do with truth. Truth can be supported by fact. Fact is something that you can take your finger and put your finger on. All right? We must know and understand that these are dire times for us as a people, Moorish American nationals and foreign hybrid European colonists that have adopted the principles of the Constitution for the United States of America, as well as the principles in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire, to come to harmony and enforce the Constitution. There is but only one form of government on this land, and that is a Republican form of government. When you go to the Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition or 4th edition, and you look up the term government, I don't know the page number off the top of my head, but you look up the term government, you will go under government and look for Republican government. The Republican government is one in which the powers of sovereignty are vested, in the people, and are exercised by the people, either directly by the people or through representatives chosen by the people to whom those powers are specially delegated. The definition of Republican government is also expressed under the 10th Amendment of the Bill of Rights, which state the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Those powers are the legislative powers under Article 1, Section 1, which is basically the power to make law. The executive powers under Article 2, Section 1, which is the power to enforce and execute the law. And last, the judicial powers, which comes under Article 3, Section 1, which is the power to interpret and apply the law. What has been done is these de facto corporations posing as law enforcement have been practicing law, and actually they've been practicing color of law against the Aboriginal and indigenous natural people of the land, as well as of the citizens of the several states of the Union. And this fraud must come to an end, right? So, what I, as well as the members of the consulate, recommend to everyone that is watching this live feed right now, we recommend that you study, you show yourself approved so that you can enforce the Constitution for the United States of North America, as well as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire for your salvation. As Prophet Noble Drew Ali had declared, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of my people and citizens. And if anyone wants to see examples of those constitutional powers, those constitutional sovereign powers, 3, Article 1, 2, and 3, executive, legislative, and judicial. If you want to see examples and proof of those powers being exercised by the people as it states in the definition of Republican government, simply go to enforcetheconstitution.org and you will see on that website downloadable PDFs of various documents that are certified in the records of these de facto corporations calling themselves courts. And you also see case summaries that are certified in the same venue showing that the case was dismissed per the powers of the people. All right? So at this time, I'm going to read from the Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations, written by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity in mind back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names such as Smith, Jones, Johnson, Goldberg, Thompson, etc., which are all the surnames of foreign hybrid European colonists, and principles that are unconstitutional, principles such as driver's license, registration, gun license, marriage license, so on and so forth. Pretty much anything that has to do with permission from someone other than yourself. All right? If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike and all other governments when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name. And if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles. Because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issues and names formed by their forefathers. That simply means stop our people, everyone that identifies as Black, African American, Indian, Spanish, Ethiopian, Latino, etc. You all, whether you know it or not, are clinging to the names and principles that delude to slavery, which is why your present condition is what it is today. We have to tell the truth, even if it's uncomfortable to the people that have been misrepresenting the truth, so that they can steal your birthright as well as the widow's pennies, as our Grand National Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey always says. Because our great missionary work is the uplift fallen humanity. Fallen humanity is the Moabite woman. Moabite is the ancient name or ancient word for Moroccan. So it's the Moroccan woman, who we all know today as the African woman. She is humanity that has fallen, and she is the humanity that will save this very planet, because she is a manifestation of the laws of nature herself. All right, and we, the males, are the sons of the mothers. Thus and therefore you get Ma son or Mason. So the Moorish divine and national movement of the world is for that one supreme issue, to uplift fallen humanity. And at this time, I will yield to any relevant questions.
I want to say thank you, Brother Lamont, for that. I know it was for some, it was very lengthy, and some in the chat have indicated that they didn't understand what was going on. And of course, some in the chat have been very ignorant as to what's going on, because unfortunately, folks need to take this opportunity to either for self-aggrandizement or to tear down someone else. I'm not going to tear anybody down when they're doing the work. Everybody wants to know who died and made somebody be, put it in the position, so to speak, of them, that you all could sit there and have this, have this platform.
You said you said who died?
You know, they didn't say that, but you know how somebody said, "Who died made you God." So I'm watching, I'm looking at comments, and you know.
Well, wait, I want to answer that.
Okay.
Because there's a such thing as resurrection. We were all once dead in the eyes of the law. If you're still claiming the classification black, you are considered in law civilly dead. So all of us, yes, we were dead and then we resurrected. Next question.
Now, what I want to say is what I'm trying to say. So from the standpoint of you know, just perusing the comments and looking, you know, through the chat, it hurts my heart. You know, this platform was established to bring forth, you know, information, confirmation, inspiration, and in times like this, you know, we hopefully that it will bring us together, give us a platform on which to come together and discuss our mutual issues so that we can come together in those principles you talked about of love, you know, peace, true peace, freedom, and justice. But I see so much infighting amongst the so-called, you know, woke Moors, even in the chat, that it overshadows sometimes the issue at hand. What I said to you when I contacted you and reached out to you was the fact that I felt whether Brother Jamal and his group were right or wrong, that the situation itself, as well as the other situation about the property being, you know, taken, cast all Moors in a bad light.
All of us.
Attack on everyone.
And then what they also, to add insult to injury, they also got our own people that are branded black to go against themselves and they don't even know it. Saying that, look at those Moorish Americans, they're stupid, they're silly. I told you that their ideologies don't work. When actuality, they're not ideologies. It's the supreme law of the land. They're also principles, universal principles that predate the actual Constitution and treaty. They're ancient principles. And those ancient principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, resonate with the divine common sense. If you hold any of their color of laws to common sense, you will see and be revealed that it doesn't make sense. It has no standing. Such as state of Massachusetts versus Jamal. If Jamal's in their venue and he has the right to face his accuser, and you have the state's attorney or the district attorney at the other table with an empty chair. That's called the empty chair trick. That is called color of law. Color of law is the appearance or the semblance without the substance of a legal right. That means the state of Massachusetts, or however they got the case captioned, which is not really a case, is a fictitious person, meaning it's not real, it's not there, it's not tangible. That means it doesn't resonate with the senses that are common. The five senses: smell, touch, taste, hearing, and seeing. Can't do any of that. None of that resonates with the state of Massachusetts. Thus and therefore, Jamal cannot have the right to face his accuser. That's called color of law. And it's it's not even a trial. It's a bill of attainder. That's proof that it's a bill of attainder. These are facts. These are not opinions.
Here's a comment from, I'm just going to start pulling them up here. Tony Bay says, only a state government can unbrand you, period. I think you're like unbranding yourself. My opinion.
What is a state government?
What's a state government? See, this is the continuous challenge that we deal with when it comes to bringing harmony and unity amongst ourselves as one collective body of people. Is anybody can go on any type of site, social media, or come up with their own little stream and see who can be the biggest complainer. But when you're not backing up your statements or the issues that you're considering errors with facts that can bring some type of resolution or solution to the cause, then what are you actually saying? And so this is, and again, we got to keep in mind the sincerity of when, like I said, Dr. G, I always give high honor and gratitude to you for actually putting in the work that you're doing to even create such a platform such as you do, and as you have been doing for some years now, to give us a place where we can actually have a common ground, to have one common voice. But yet you will still see that there is either people, whether out of the state of the choice of ignorance, or if they have an agenda assigned to them to want to continue to disrupt that harmony. We all know that those that are in these delusional positions of power are in a state of desperation now, because they see that as this cosmic energy begins to unfold and reveal, is that there is an imbalance, but the imbalance not so much is really with them, because they're doing exactly what their carnal nature has been designed for them to do, is to disrupt things. We're the ones that have really been suffering the great consequences of just being out of balance with nature, because we are of nature. So once we get off of, again, back to what we were saying in the previous interview, leave the big eyes and little U's out of it and get your egos out of the way, because how is it that you're going to embrace the reality and the truth of everything with sincerity if everybody's going to look at things with this blocked ego mindset, where it seems as though what they're doing has some validity with regards to bringing a direction for us to follow in one accord? Anybody, like, we all can sit here and be on the curb, feet swinging and complaining about how life has done us wrong and how situations and circumstances amongst us are not right and in harmony with each other. But then when somebody says, okay, then what do we need to do to bring some type of right standing in society, and especially on a forum where the world can see that we're not as what's been projected and what's been portrayed for decades about our people, then nobody wants to step and say, okay, this is what needs to get done. So until or unless we start just remove the issue of, we all know that there's issues. And again, we all know that not one person can be the sole solving problem person for everything. But if he has something that is of value and of substance, that which somebody can apply in a circumstance or an experience in which they may be going through themselves, and in the course of applying that, they'll render some type of enlightenment which they can bring back to the table and be able to share that, so which we can be able to spread that information and that truth amongst one another. And again, this is again going back to what I was saying from a century ago. We had those type of operations when we was dealing with the Tulsa situation and all that, but people just kind of lost sight of what was the principle of that. We were in harmony and loving with one another. So, I mean, when you still see the actions that take place, see, this is the remnants of us not really looking at things from a divine principle, and we're still looking at it from the emotional aspect, which we have been trained to do.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I want to remind us that in chapter 2 of the Circle 7 Quran, first beginning of verse 21 says this: the only savior of the world is love.
Love.
And I see everything and anything sometimes but love in our dealings with one another. That's the reason why we can't come together and achieve anything of any, significance. That's why we take one step forward and two steps back, because somebody interjects their hate or their prejudice or their dislike for somebody getting more press than they are, and then they, then all of a sudden they go become the sourpuss, and they want to destroy everything that was being done. The point of them is that, well, like I said earlier, we all have been injured in a sense from what happened, regardless of who's at fault. We all, and what we need to do is to be working to correct the image of who we are as Moorish Americans. We need to correct that image, because we come from all walks of life. Not everybody that is claiming their nationality is trying to take, obtain a property or evade or void paying child support or some of the things that they try to put on. That's what this is about. That's not what this is about. This is not what there are people, so-called professional people. I was a professional people in my former profession. So I would have been the least person but when I heard the truth just definitely set me free. And I believe that that's what's been happening with millions around the world who've been hearing the truth over these years. And I'm grateful that this platform can add in some small way to that. No, I don't believe that this is the only platform that dispenses truth about being Moors. But when the ones of you that I invite to come on, is because there is a heart connection. there's a heart connection. There are people that want to come on this platform that I don't invite on the platform because their heart's not right. I'm not. And if I tell the truth during an interview, they wouldn't like me anymore because I would remind them that their heart hasn't even been right towards me. You know,
right.
And so we've got to first have self-love. Once you can love yourself, then we can love each other. But the Quran says that, you know, y'all looking for a savior. Love is the savior, and it starts with me. It starts with me. I've got to love you. I've got to love you. You know what I mean? And I've got to love me first, though, and then I can spread that love about. But people that can't love don't love themselves. And we're trying to fix something. We're trying to fix the problem. And all of the negativity that I hear, not just on this particular broadcast, because I know I too received a phone call on Saturday morning. I pulled it up on my phone. I'm not going to mention the person, but it came in at 8:52 a.m. And this particular person was trying to get in touch with Brother Lamont because of with regard to the situation, and that I believe it's the same two people that you talked to and didn't name. I spoke to one of them because they called me at 8:52 a.m. and I did what I could to try to connect you all because, and apparently not knowing that you had been up all night and had fallen asleep for a rest. So I know what you're saying to that extent is true. I know that, some were like, well, were you there whenever what happened? I don't know whether they were, they went before them today or not. You were already told that someone else, another competent Moor, was going to handle this. It does not negate the fact that you did your best to diffuse the situation on Saturday. And then when they said thank you, but no thank you, then you did what you did, but you still gave advice as to what should or could be done to assist in the situation. So all you on the chat talking that smack, listen, y'all need to know that I'm like this far away. I'm going to get me some moderators and you're going to be blocked. And I don't care whether you talk nasty about me afterwards or not, but I didn't have it up to there with the ridiculousness. I'm going to get moderators because it's we got to get somewhere. This types of things takes us backwards. We want to go forward from this. We want to grow from this. We want to unify from this.
Absolutely. Can I interject?
Of course.
It was something that I learned from Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson. All three of them are in sports. And all three of them in their respective sports, which is boxing, were the most hated. But at the same time, they were the most loved. Because love and hate actually is two opposite degrees of the same emotion. Love is nothing but hate, the opposite. And hate is nothing but love, the opposite. So in order for you to know what love is, you have to know what hate is first. Just like in order for you to know what good is, you got to know what bad is first. Or to know what wisdom is, you have to be a fool. And in chapter 1, it talks about man being the Lord of all the plane of man. Let me say what chapter 1. Chapter 1 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which we call Circle 7. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage. But he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold. And then I'll skip to the last part. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. So what normally brings everyone, our people anyway, and everyone around the world, what brings them together?
Pain.
Something that causes pain. Something that has to do with death. Something that has to do with a tragedy. That's what brings everybody together. And what Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson figured out was not that it's best to be hated, but you can capitalize off being hated, because hate is still someone giving you attention. And remember, attention is the full faith and credit. So everyone comes to, well, not everyone, most people comes to Floyd Mayweather's fight and pays all of those funds,
all that energy
to see him lose. That was the same for Muhammad Ali, because they talk so much trash. But what did they benefit from it? They benefited the finances. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he did just announce, what he say, how to bank rob or something like that. But that's the thing. In the holy books, including the Holy Bible, it said that the Lord will make your enemy your footstool. So with that being said, let's not look at what these trolls are saying in the comments as negative, because that's energy that they're giving. And they're speaking their truth, because the laws of nature don't change for anybody. All right? Laws of nature don't change for anybody. You are held by your word. All right? For by your word, this is in Proverbs, for by your word you will be justified, and by your word you will be condemned. And what did they used to say, the policy enforcers? Anything you say can and will be used against you. All right? So whatever you're saying against the truth will be used against you. Thus and therefore, your current situation. Are you still paying a mortgage? Even though you know mortgage means dead pledge. Are you still paying a debt? Even though the Federal Reserve note that you call money is not money and it doesn't pay anything. Are you paying taxes? Even though the word tax actually means tithe. Right? So how can you talk against the very salvation that will help assist you in your current issue and try to put it down? You're not putting it down for people that got ears to hear and eyes to see, because they're coming. You're putting it down and convincing yourself to not do it, and you're blocking your own remedy. So thus the statement is made, many are called, but few are chosen. That means out of the all of everyone, many are called. And out of the many, only a few are chosen. And guess who chooses? We do. And when I say we, I'm talking about all of us as a whole. It's called free will. You have the power to choose. So you can choose your remedy, your salvation, or you can choose your destruction. You can make the choice by way of emotions or by way of truth. It's your choice. Either way, it's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect anyone else that is within the constitutional fold of government, which are principles, ancient principles. That Constitution does not give rights to anyone. It protects pre-existing rights that were bestowed upon you by your mother when you were crowned coming out of her womb. It's called an inheritance. Now you can claim it or you can abandon it. Choice is yours. So Dr. G, I don't think that you should block those people. Let them come on, because they talk about it. They talk about this.
But again, it's good. It's good for the fact that it continues to keep us on the right path and the straight and narrow to continue to ascend beyond it and above it. So that way we don't get caught in the turmoil of it. Because even when you're standing on the principles of the truth, you can have a million people or a million foes that come up against you and try to say that you're either agents. I'm an agent. I'll admit, I'm an agent. I'm an agent for
we all agents.
Salvation.
He agent.
I am an agent for the uplifting of all humanity. I am an agent for
the Caucasian
work.
But he an agent.
Yes, I would say that on the record and publicly. I am, yes, an agent for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So therefore, now you can make the assumption.
I did see a comment regarding my brother in the back that he was the only one that looked like a Moroccan, and everybody else they need to see y'all's 23andMe.
Wait, who?
Well, look, the mere fact that anybody will make a statement
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
and know the structure as to what that applied and the purpose of it only goes to show that either they are extremely ignorant or been a fool.
Here's the other thing. A tree is known by its fruits. So if you're making claims, no matter who you are, one day you will be challenged.
Absolutely.
You will be challenged on what you know. If you claim that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and I'm not taking anyone that says that, I'm not taking anything from anyone that says that, that's going to be challenged between this year and the coming years. If you're claiming that you love Allah and Muhammad is your prophet, that will be challenged. If you're saying that Noble Drew Ali is your God, that will be challenged. Everything will be challenged, especially if you're saying the Constitution does not work and consular jurisdiction is not for Moorish Americans on this land. Because guess what? Go to the website enforcetheconstitution.org and see if we ain't used consular jurisdiction to help have those cases dismissed. We did, and you can't challenge that. It happened already.
Well, I believe that if everybody on here hopefully does have a Circle 7 Quran. If you don't have a Circle 7 Quran, get your Circle 7. You know, and read. You know, All right. Yeah.
25. Chapter 25. That's where I was getting ready to go.
Yeah,
I was getting ready to state that the Holy Quran of the Asiatic nation. If we all focus on what the prophet indicates, and a lot of us is not even comfortable with saying that we have a holy prophet, a divine prophet who brought back those things that was withheld from us. And thus that is the kind of illness and the psychological conditioning, because we know that it starts with a thought. And once the thought is become captive, then they captivated your imagination with your ability to create. And now you cannot create harmony because you do not and cannot create harmony in your thoughts. So the thoughts is the cause of it all. The prophet stated in chapter 25, which it says, the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck, that the bonds of affection, therefore unite thee with thy brother, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. Prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Now, if you can recite that and put it in your highest thoughts, which is your highest consciousness of self, which is here, that you can start to think about, you will not think about division, but you will start to think about unity. You will start to think about that love and peace in thy father's house, so therefore we can dwell with one another. That's why when people came out of captivity and a prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was bringing it back to remembrance, he said, teaching my people to love instead of hate is the main issue at hand, because we have been taught to hate thyself and to hate thy brother. They see you as, and they see a threat because you have brothers up here together with the Moroccan flag, and you have them in sequence in unity with one another. And instead of seeing it as a position of service, they see it as a position of a title of being able to be in control. No, this is when you see brothers who have this fez on, who has the turban on, our sisters and our brothers, that is a position of service, saying we are here for the uplifting and salvation of humanity, period. If that becomes our plight, then we don't have to worry about that condition. Remember who you are and start to change that thought. With that, I yield.
Islam, brother.
Yes. The holy covenant of the Asiatic nation should be understood by everyone around the world that are Asiatic. Another word for Asiatic is human. So it's really a holy covenant of the human nation. And it said when we separate throughout the world, Remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before your own blood. That's called consanguinity, blood relationship. Now, if the blood is corrupted, that is due to being disobedient and clinging to principles that delude to slavery, then the heir is not heritable, meaning he is not competent to inherit, or she is not competent to inherit. And that includes the inheritance of your birthrights or your rights that are protected by the Constitution and treaty. So you cannot, even though you call yourself a Moor, but you still cling to principles that delude to slavery, pursuant to Article 6 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire. It states in part, if any Moor not a subject of these dominions shall make prize of any of the citizens of America or his effects, and bring them into any of the ports of his majesty, they shall be immediately released, as they will then be considered as under his majesty's protection. That means also, or that includes also the opposite. If you are a Moor, being a subject of these dominions, then yes, they can make prize of you, because your classification is stateless, or in other words, undesirable. And those are real classifications that you should look up. If you want to deny your birthright and continue to be branded black, you have the right to do so. If you want to claim to be Moorish American or Moor or Mur, M-U-U-R, or Al-Moroccan or Moroccan, and you still want to act or be or think under the Black Code, which was the statutes that governed the institution of slavery, you have that right. We're not here to sell you anything. We're not here to convince you of anything. We are simply here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Our illustrious prophet is a prophet of the world. He's universal, and his principles are universal. Those principles are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which are represented by the green, five-pointed green star in our national flag. That's our principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, understand this. I am the same individual that back in 2013, they claimed that I stole a mansion at Montgomery County. I am the same individual that back in 2013, they claimed I also took a townhouse at Charles County. The Montgomery County case was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. I did not get debranded by a state government. I did not do a UCC1 claim. I did not do administrative process. No, all I did was enforce the Constitution. If you want to see proof of the dismissal of that case, go on enforcetheconstitution.org. It's not about me though. These cases, or these, they're not cases. None of those issues on the websites are not cases, although they called them cases. But for layman's term, we called them traffic case, habeas corpus case, fraudulent lien case, etc. Those alleged cases, or collusive actions, I should say, or bills of attainder, was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction, not because we're like just some super smart people that are privileged, or we're FBI agents or anything like that. No, they were dismissed based off of principle. And also understand that Drew Ali said, I have agents everywhere. He said, I have agents everywhere, or I have detectives, excuse me. He said, I have detectives everywhere. We got to understand that when we look at a Manchurian, we're looking at a Moor. When we look at a who we call Korean, we're looking at a Moor. When we look at what we call a Chinese, we're looking at a Moor. These are Asiatics. They're Moors. All right? You're looking at yourself. Stop separating yourself. I'm speaking only to the people that got ears to hear and eyes to see. Stop separating yourself from yourself. Learn yourself, study yourself, so that you can enforce the Constitution, which is the body. It's this. The Constitution for the United States of North America is a written constitution. However, the divine Constitution is your body. It is also the body of the constellation. As above, so below. You're a manifestation of it. So as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think that they have authority over you, guess what? They have authority over you. If you think that they have the power, guess what? They're going to assume the position of power, and you're going to give it to them. Absolutely. However, if you study and show yourself approved, and studying isn't just reading the Constitution. Studying isn't just reading the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Study is applying yourself to it. If you're enforcing the Constitution, then that means you got to be whatever article or whatever amendment in the Constitution. You have to display that. That's the executive power. That's the power to enforce that principle in the Constitution, not just to interpret it and apply it. You also have to enforce it. And that doesn't have to be done by guns. All right? Gun is not the power. Firearms is not the power. That's why we don't necessarily promote it. However, we do exercise our right to keep and bear arms. But we do not promote to brandish the arms because that's not the power. The power is knowledge when it's applied. The power is the knowledge that the person has that has the gun that shoots the gun. He's the power, not the gun. But the highest power is the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword because it writes history. You want to see the history that this pen wrote? Go on enforcetheconstitution.org. You'll see it. That's the power. The power is also represented by the words that you speak, because the words you speak create your reality. That means you need to know the word that you're speaking, meaning not just the definition, but the etymon of the word, the true meaning of the word. And that's called, that study or that science is called etymology. It's the study of the origin and development of words. So if you don't know what the word or the etymon of the word nice, and somebody tells you have a nice day, and you said thanks, you too, guess what day you're going to have? An ignorant day, even though you didn't know it meant ignorant. So it's no condemnation on anyone other than what you speak out of your mouth. We're not condemning you. If you try to condemn us and we're within the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, then guess what? Justice will take its course because that's the final principle. And you will have the answer to the seed that you sow. All right? So this is also a plea to the nations per Article 20 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836, which I'll quote. The citizens, if, wait, I can't quote that. I got too much in my head. Hold on. Give me 1 second, because I'm doing this for a reason. Article 20 of the treaty. It reads, if any of the citizens of the United States or any persons under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties. And whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. Article 20 is dealing with chapter 25 of the Holy Quran, of the Moorish Temple of America, titled The Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nations, because the person that's speaking in this treaty is the Emperor of Morocco. He was referring to our government, the Moroccan government, also called the Moroccan Empire. When you go to chapter 47 of the Holy Quran. Chapter 47, which is titled Egypt, the Capital Empire of the Dominion of Africa. Reading from verse 7. Well, excuse me, verse 6 and 7. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation, this is talking about the Moroccan Empire, our government, per Article 20 of the treaty. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across the Great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. So guess what? Article 20 is talking about the dominion of the Moroccan Empire, our government. So that includes the allies of the Moroccan Empire, or within the Moroccan Empire. This is a plea under consular jurisdiction to enforce the decisions that we have prior made and that we will be making in the future, and will be displayed on enforcetheconstitution.org. This is a plea to our government to give us aid and assistance to help us enforce the decisions made by Consul. And with that, I yield, and I want to thank you, Dr. G, for giving us this opportunity to speak the truth. I want to thank you, Brother Kadar, Majesty Kadar Bey, for being with us when speaking the truth. And I want to thank all of the brothers and sisters of our consulate, as well as the brothers and sisters around the world that give your support when you send donations, when you send emails of support, and even the text messages in the text threads. We greatly appreciate you, the energy that you give, your prayers, your thoughts, your inspiration, your motivation, because we're putting that energy right back to you and to everyone else, even the ones that want to hate and want to, like see us fall or whatever. I don't know. We love you all too, because you are all a part of the great plan that Mother Nature has for humanity. So the separation of the wheat from the chaff is being done right now, and we all have the power to choose. So please choose wisely. Nevertheless, you have to choose. And with that, I yield the floor. Thank you. We can't hear you.
We have about 20 minutes. We have about 20 minutes, so we have some comments and questions. And since you said there's nothing, even the ones that I feel are being disrespectful, but maybe it's just that they want to know. This particular question, somebody wants to know, I'll put it up here. I would like to know what head of state appointed you as Consul General. Not me, but them.
Okay, head of state. First of all, what is a state? State is synonymous with status, as well as standing or condition, social position. So when you say what head of state put me as Consul General, that's incorrect. First and foremost, I was voted. Now, I was voted by, Brother Kadar, help me out. Who was, because I got a lot of thoughts going in my head right now. Can't hear it. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? And you was voted by the Grand Judiciary, who then took a vote and exercised that vote to then appoint you as the head, the general, consul general.
Absolutely. And also, you got to understand that I'm not everyone's consul general. Consul general first is an office. It's not me. It's an office. I took office by vote. prior to me being Consul General, or taking the office of Consul General, I was exercising consular jurisdiction ever since 2012. All right. And I can't exercise consular jurisdiction over any Moorish American that haven't, one, consented to it, and two, demonstrated the principles of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. So if you are wondering if my position or my office or any one of our offices affects you, it doesn't. So you don't have anything to worry about. But if you are looking to obtain consular jurisdiction or consular assistance, then please be sure to reach out to us at enforcetheconstitution.org. We are looking for principles, and we're not looking for followers. We're looking for equals, because we're not no one's leader.
Let me see what else here. Bring up another comment.
And just really as another side statement for the brother that posed that question, feel free to put in the chat what missionary work and what great work are you doing in support to the uplifting of the movement, for the record.
All right, a lot of people, we're not saying that you're complaining.
Anybody can make a complaint, but if the purpose of the complaint is to give yourself attention that you can bring a remedy, then so be it. Let it happen that way. But if it's just that you're complaining, and then when we're looking for some type of solution and you have nothing to offer, then what is your purpose?
And we're not directing it directly to you.
That's the general statement.
It's general.
That's just a general statement.
A lot of people are complaining about consular jurisdiction while we're actually doing the work. What other remedy are you providing? Because as far as we're concerned, and in accordance with Article 20 and 21 of the treaty, which we can put our finger on, there is no other venue for Moors to settle disputes with citizens of the United States. If you think the venue is their alleged court, then go to it and see what remedy you're going to get. Real simple.
And again, I want it to be known, Dr. G, everybody on the platform, me posing that question wasn't that I'm in a boxing ring and we coming out the corner swinging. We're here for remedy and solution. That's basically the reason why I'm making the statements. I'm not making it out of emotion or anything. I'm just making it clear on the record. If you have some remedy, then it is your duty and your obligation to share it with your brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason why I make those statements.
Not to just challenge, just to be challenging. That's worthless babble conversation that we will not give any attention to. Respectfully.
Here's a question from Walter Alexis. Can habeas corpus be used in the context of the term effects to address property / res of the nom de guerre?
No, because we have nothing to do with the nom de guerre. The nom de guerre is used to denationalize you. The nom de guerre is an instrument of their creation.
They created it.
So the only way it has life is if you give it attention, right? Now, you being present in propria persona on the information of the nom de guerre, then that's you basically presenting yourself in your proper person on the information or ex rel, the nom de guerre, because they're claiming you to be the nom de guerre. However, if you're in propria persona, your position is ex rel or on the information of the nom de guerre. So you don't use just the nom de guerre for habeas corpus. No, you use your free and national name or your appellation. Ex rel, that means on the information of. Ex rel is EX. The second word is relation, or REL, period. That means on the information of the nom de guerre.
Okay. So Reverus is not satisfied with that response. Here's a second follow-up question. So if the grand judiciary voted you in, who gave
here? Okay, here is my question. Where are you actually getting at? Because we're doing the works. We're not pretending We're not protected. Go on the website. We're doing the works. Where are you getting at? And how does our position affect you? If you don't want consular jurisdiction, then keep doing what you're doing.
If it's working.
Right. And everybody that calls themselves consul or consul general or whatever, guess what? You ain't that till you do something as consul. You can't be a mechanic and never fix a car. You see what I'm saying? So we're doing the works, and that's a question that has no merit. It doesn't lead to anything, no fruit or anything like that. And I mean that with the utmost respect, brother. However, I explained and I answered the question, and I think you should do further investigation on the Supreme Grand Judiciary. The Supreme Grand Judiciary, just also let you know, is another word for the foreign ministry, or they exercise the powers of foreign ministry. Because think about it. We're here on this land, and we are conducting commerce with colonists. So if I'm of Moorish descent, and the person that I'm doing business with is of colonial European descent, right? And European, speaking connotatively because we are the real Europeans. We are the descendants of Europa, all right? Who was the Moabite's queen or Moabite's pharaoh. Then what law would govern the dispute? What law will govern the controversy, the case, or even the transaction? Treaty law, international treaty law, right? So that means there has to be a foreign relation and intercourse between the two people. The foreign relation and intercourse is the treaty, the platform or the venue to settle any dispute in the commercial transaction is called consular court. It's called consular court, or it's simply the consul that decides between the parties. Back in 1956, the United States relinquished their extraterritorial jurisdiction, also called consular jurisdiction, in Morocco. And for everyone, for all my scholars, and for all the people that do research, go to Google and put in Public Law 856, Act of August 1st, 1956, and start at the bottom of page 1. You'll see the relinquishment of consular jurisdiction in Morocco. So that means you're in Morocco, right? Yeah. So, there is no other way of settling disputes outside of consular jurisdiction. So get off that, or if you want to know more, just send me an email. But we got to move forward.
Here's a question or a comment. We need to challenge, from Tariq, we need to challenge the Southern Poverty Law Center about who we are and our legal status. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's say you.
Absolutely. And when you really do your examination as pertains to Southern Poverty Law Center, you will recognize that it actually is a contributing factor with regards to keeping our people of Asiatic African descent under the black code and that brand status as a stateless person. So clearly, yeah, they're having an agenda also that's assigned to them. And when you sit and think about just even their organization, the Southern Poverty Law Center. So, I mean, you really want to look at, breaking those words down and finding the essence of their meanings. And you'll really look at it, and once you put it together logistically, you'll see that really what the impression that you think you have as it pertains to their operations is not what you think it is, in harmony for uplifting and justice.
Absolutely. And it's not coincidental that they're called the Southern Poverty Law Center. When you go to the black law, the definition of the black code in the Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition on page 154, you'll see that black code is defined, I'll read it again, a name given collectively to the body of laws, statutes, and rules enforced in various southern states prior to 1865, which regulated the institution of slavery. So it's not a coincidence that the organization is called, what was it called again?
Southern Poverty
Law Center. So why is the Southern Poverty Law Center doing an interview about something that happened in the North? Think about it. Because they are promoting the Black Code. Real simple.
Okay. This comment says, gosh, did I lose it? I wanted to find it. Okay, I missed it, but I see another comment by the same one. All right. Someone said something about you're going to force the Constitution, but not help Jamal. I don't know whether they have been listening.
Again, they might have been late.
They must have been coming in on the back end of where we're at.
Wind this interview and then watch it from the beginning.
Save. If you haven't subscribed. But then you can go back to the beginning of this whole interview segment right here, and you will see that it was clearly discussed for the record. The reason why we even made a press conference with regards to the involvement as pertains to Brother Jamal. So that way that, if you have any concern with regards to that, look at the earlier portion of this segment here, and then your answers will be given to you there.
And also, that wasn't just an attack on Jamal and Rise of the Moors, the members of the Rise of the Moors. That was an attack on every single Moorish American.
Of your status, whether you are competently making the statement as who you are on the record, or if you are someone that is of the quote unquote black status, they're still inflicting the same type of war tactics on us, regardless, because it doesn't matter where you are in your consciousness, your bloodline still cannot be disputed.
And also, know this. What Jamal is going through, and the members of the Rise of the Moors, the 10 members of the Rise of the Moors are going through chapter 1. I went through it. Not saying that I was looking for anybody to save me, no, because I read the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. It says, if you want to know where your Savior is, look within. His name is self. That's also your devil. Look within, his name is self. So Jamal simply has to look within. He has to study himself. And he also has to stop calling them officers. And this is no disrespect to Jamal. I love and appreciate Jamal and his portion. Nevertheless, principles are principles, and they don't change for anybody, and they're ancient.
This is his study.
So we cannot, yes, this is his study. We cannot intervene with anybody's karma if they're clinging to principles such as calling them officers. When you call them officer, you are appointing them in office over your estate. Therefore, they get to tell you what to do right there on the spot because you authorized them. You gave them the authority. Remember, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution are reserved to the people. That's the definition of Republican government, and that's also the 10th Amendment. So if you got the power and you say, officer, you just appointed this individual in office over your state. No different than me contacting you and say, all right, listen, do you want to invoke your treaty right to consular jurisdiction so that I can exercise consular jurisdiction over this venue, over this dispute? You say, yeah, and we draft the document and you consent basically, and you tell the individuals who I am and what my position is. Guess what? That's appointment. So I don't necessarily, no one necessarily has to be voted in the position of consul. Definitely yes, Consul General, yes. But consul, no, it's done by appointment because we have a treaty right. That's a treaty right to consular jurisdiction.
Well, the same in this one got another here. You're not. That's not what you said. But I want to put this up here because enforce the Constitution.
Let me explain. Let me explain. So when I was on the phone with the lieutenant, with 2 to 3 lieutenants, between the hours of, what was it? I want to say 3 o'clock in the morning, all the way till maybe around 9. And I was speaking to them about consular notification and access. Basically the consular notification requirements that they have to uphold to put themselves in alignment with treaty obligations. None of them argued with me. None of them said that I was wrong. They actually was contacting my phone to speak to me in regards to Jamal. Now, if this was any other case, especially a case in which a Moor is dealing with a acting administrative clerk in a venue called the court, and another Moor comes and tries to speak on his behalf, that administrative clerk is going to tell you you can't speak to him. So is the policy enforcer. You can't speak for him. So is the policy enforcer. The policy enforcer is going to tell you you have nothing to do with this incident, so we don't have to talk to you. All 3 of them talked to me. All 3 lieutenants talked to me. Now, it wasn't until Jamal announced them as officers so many times, and I tried to let him know, listen, brother, you got to stop calling them officer. The last lieutenant that I spoke with, he was the one that was saying to me, yeah, just tell them, Jamal and everyone else, to come back, just come out the car and step back to us so that we can talk to them. And I said, well, you have to have a search warrant. You don't have a search warrant. You're violating their privacy rights. And they said, no, we don't need a search warrant. Know why they said they didn't need a search warrant? They didn't say it before. Nobody said that because he was calling them officer. That's a study. It's not I'm not condemning Jamal, and I'm not saying that we abandoned Jamal. No, we didn't. It was out of naivety or whatever it was that Jamal called them officer. When you call them officer, you consent to their jurisdiction, their law language, because you put him in office. Otherwise, he's not an officer. Policemen are not officers. There's 3 offices: judicial, legislative, and executive. Which one of those offices does police come under? None. Where in the constitutional treaty were police departments sanctioned? They're not. They're unconstitutional. They're actually the gangs of New York. They're a religious corporation called Fraternal Order of Police. They are not officers until you call them officer. And thus and therefore, you just adopted their form of government. Their form of government is called democracy, which is not a government. Nowhere in the Constitution was there sanctioned a democracy. Only a Republican form of government per Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution for the United States of America, because those principles allude to slavery. So if you are clinging to those principles by calling them officer, police are, yes, officer, thinking you're being respectful and you're being sincere, but that has nothing to do with respect. There shall be no respect in judgment, only truth. Justice doesn't respect person or station, and justice is the laws of nature. We call her Mother Nature. She wears a blindfold, so whether you know it or not, ignorance of it does not excuse you. However, you can learn from it. Shoot, it took me 5 years. I learned from it in prison, but I also know that. What did it say in the chapter where in the Circle 7, where Jesus was wanting to go in the decimal crypts so that he can learn the temptations of men, so that he can know how to succor those in need? And the Hierophant, the high priest, said the highest heights are gained by those that reach the greatest depths, and you shall reach the greatest depths. Guess what? I was settled with that. So I'm going to prison, and I'm going to tell myself, this is in prison, this is law school, because I was not going to give up jurisdiction at Charles County. The situation at Charles County was somebody forged the signature of the nom de guerre on the public defender while I was at Montgomery County Circuit Court fighting that case. Somebody forged the signature at Charles County Circuit Court, and when I got transferred to Charles County, human traffic to Charles County, I was sitting in the bullpen. They went forward with the hearing, the preliminary hearing, which is the hearing where they weigh the evidence that they have against you, and if it's enough evidence to go to trial, they can take it to trial. If there's no evidence, they dismiss the case. They had no evidence. The only other way they can take it to trial is if the defendant or the defense attorney demands for a trial, and that's what happened. The public defender demanded that Lamont Maurice Butler go to trial, and I, Lamont Maurice L., was being kidnapped, and they told me at the Charles County Detention Center, yeah, the court said they don't need you today, so you can go back to your unit. The only way I know about the incident was because my mother was in the venue, no, it's not even tribunal, in the venue that she witnessed the public defender do what he did. So I was railroaded into prison via kidnapping and human trafficking. Nevertheless, law governs all events. There is no mistakes. There is no strange happenings. That's chapter 2.
Also, the hermetic principles
Yes.
of cause and effect.
That's chapter 2. Chapter 2, verse 7. Elihu said, "It is not strange. There are no happenings. Law governs all events." How do you think that you are supposed to learn by experience or learn from the conflict that cannot be told in words? You got to go through it. You got to experience. You got to see why you have to take this movement that serious, all the way down to knowing exactly, precise, technically, every single word that comes out of your mouth, because it's going to be used against you. And guess what? You can't save nobody. All right? What does it say in chapter 47? Chapter 47, verse 15. The time has come when every nation must worship under his own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. If you confess them to be officers, guess what? They're your officer. And they're going to show you they're your officer.
Well, listen, I want to just make this one last point as we're at the 2-hour point, and I'm sure you're probably tired. You've been preparing for this and all of that stuff. But I want to make this point. You did not, as there's a comment here that because, Jamal, I'll put it up. You said because Jamal at 3 a.m. in the morning called out to the officer, so now he effed up and you can't help me. I guess he meant him. I think you clarified that earlier when you said the others that were working with him said they had someone else.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's
so
the reason.
Let's make this clear, because after Jamal got kidnapped, his 2 of the members, and they know who they are,
right,
they should speak up in the spirit, in the principles of truth.
Right.
2 of the members reached out to me. I was resting, because I was up all morning, dealing with the situation, and they reached out to Dr. G. Dr. G called me. Eventually, I woke up, saw the text message, and I contacted them back, and they wanted to thank me. They gave me an update of what was going on, and I said, well, listen, this is why it happened that way. Nevertheless, this is what you can do. There is the whole habeas corpus example on the website under habeas corpus cases, which we used last June 17th, which is how they conveniently directed most people's attention from that to show that we had the power. We have the power, not just us, you have the power. All you got to do is know your words, know the law, and enforce it. And they redirected it to the slander of Jamal, Rise of the Moors, and all Moorish Americans. All right. So I told them, it was a male and female, that they can go on the website and they can study the writ of habeas corpus, because we are not physically there. So we can't do writ of habeas corpus for them. That's the same thing that I explained to a sister about that whose child was kidnapped, and another sister whose daughter was kidnapped. You have to, if you're physically there at this at the jurisdiction, the state jurisdiction, then you and others associated with you has to be competent, and you all has to enforce the writ of habeas corpus. All right, I explained that to them. They understood. Now I said, now if the process is too complicated to understand right now, then you all can also enforce the 8th Amendment. I went over all of this with them. The 8th Amendment deals with the right to be free from excessive bail and from cruel and unusual punishment. The excessive bail, the bail would be excessive if it's $1 for a bond. $1. You know why? Because the word dollar is Jacquemus dollar, and it means gold or silver coin. Per Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution, the only thing that can pay a debt is gold or silver coin. If there is no gold or silver coins in public circulation, then that $1 bond is excessive. Thus and therefore, he can get out on personal recognizance. I explained that to him as well. And I said that if you want, I can draft that for you all. They said, no, we're good. Now, I'm just saying, you know, in my own words, no, they good. They got another Moor that's competent, that's going to assist them. Now, yes, I have been hearing from other Moors reaching out to me like, hey, are you going to assist Jamal? I can't. Not only did he give up jurisdiction, but the people who were part of his organization told me that they're going to someone else. So that's fine, but I'm not saying that I want to save Jamal. No, I got to save myself. I'm still saving myself. So this is energy that's going out, all right? And it's frustrating what they're doing, but we are not your enemy. Go on the website. That's proof. We're not your enemy. We ain't hiding anything either. Go on the website, study, and see for yourself what you need to do, because everything on the website works, and it's fact. Now, if you don't want it and you want to just complain, then complain. But your complaining is not going to get you anywhere. Law governs all events, not complaints, not emotions. It's law, and you're the law. So whatever you say is going to be either used against you or used for you.
The last thing I'm going to say, and I'm asking this for myself, can you be a part of instituting a communication, a written communication that a lot of us can agree on, that would go to the Southern Poverty Law Center as our statement of who we are and our rejection of their definition and direction that they're giving to policy enforcers all around the UDIS.
Well, I don't really think that would be necessary. And the reason why I say that is because we at Maryland, DC, Virginia, Georgia, Oregon, Texas, California, a lot of us are traveling with the flags on our cars to show our signal and law flags. A lot of us are traveling also with our driver's license. And when we are pulled over, they recognize principle and they let us go. Remember, they're given degrees. They are all fraternal order of police. They're given degrees. So it's not necessarily but they out here, we thought the same thing about Charles County. Charles County was the last county out of the whole North America, from what I was told, to outlaw slavery. And so everybody at Charles County was like, man, look, man, they not doing that. Y'all come up here with that more stuff you want. We did come up with that more stuff. And guess what they did? They yielded to that Moorish stuff under consular jurisdiction. So you simply have to study. You have to study. Study doesn't just mean reading. It means cross-reference, analyze, decode, decipher, challenge, and then be what you know. That's called studying too. If you look at the video on the website when we did the exercise consular jurisdiction, I said at the end of the video, this is a study. Now, a lot of people, it went over their heads because all they saw was us come in there in the venue, sit down, then when stand up when the pretend judge came out, sit back down, and then saw me in the deal, go up, talk, come back, sit down, go up, talk, come back, sit down. And then the state's attorney ran back and in the room, and they came back, and then, you know, all of a sudden, they brought Javar out. We stood up. You could barely hear the Magi, not Magi, they ain't Magi. You could barely hear the colonists on the pretend bench say what he said, but it was real quick, and it was behind everybody's back. The only way you'll know what happened is if you see facts, the paper trail, the case summary, and that's on the website. He was released, and the cases were dismissed for lack of jurisdiction and fraud. They're going to challenge you. Why not challenge you? You have to show yourself approved. How can you claim to be a bus driver, never rode a bus before, but you saying it's your birthright, you're entitled to drive this bus, and you got everybody's livelihoods in your hand, and you want to drive the bus, and they like, listen, man, you got to study, you ain't study for real, and you like, man, that's not fair, you know, it's your fault and all that. No, we got to take responsibility and stop being victim. We've been victims for over 400, 500 years. I heard Kendrick Lamar even said that. A lot of people are saying that. When are we going to stop being victims and start taking responsibility? Because everybody in the world that suffered slavery took responsibility and fought for their independence, fought for their freedom. Now, we here over here in North America, we technically don't need guns to fight for our freedom. But yeah, we need it to, we don't need it, but we can use it to defend. But you also defend with the pen. You also defend with your hands and your feet. Why not? So if you go into a venue and they tell you you can't bring arms in there, you go in there still, you're supposed to be the dangerous person in there, even though it's other people on their side with firearms, because you know how to disarm them. Why not know that knowledge? It's called studying, right? Study yourself. See where you're weak at and build it up, and then do something. If you make a mistake and you learn from it, it's not a mistake anymore. It's a lesson. That's the truth. And then you get to take that lesson and then do it again and then see what happens. If it doesn't work again, then you learn from that. That's another lesson. Now you got 2 lessons under your belt. You're not losing. You know how many times I wrote habeas corpus by myself? Well, not by myself, but for myself. And I had Brother Arnell Smith Bay writing it too, to where his hands was like, you know, messed up. We did it for 5 years. Am I complaining? No. Jamal just went in 2-3 days ago. So it's all good. He's not dead. The members of the Rise of the Moors are not dead. They're in full life. They're just going through their tests. We're all going to be tested just like that. You'll see. So it's not about, oh, y'all should have did something. No.
What are you doing?
What are you doing besides complaining? Study and show yourself approved.
Or get out the way.
And get out the way. And if you are looking to support, then show yourself approved so that you can support righteously, meaning right, and not, you know, let's all do. I don't want to say some of the things that I've heard, but yeah, man, just we got to stop being victims. We got to stop being victims. We're doing this to ourselves. All right. So that's what I have to say. And anybody else that has the same question, you're going to be met with the same answer. So it's not going to change. I already gave my assistance. I did what I could do. He did what he did. I reached out to the other members. They said, nah, they're good. All right, I'm not going to force myself upon anybody. Just like I'm not trying to persuade anybody to believe what I'm saying or what we're saying right now. It's no point. You speak for you. And you are speaking based off of your experience. I'm speaking based off my experience. And guess what? The opposition They know what I'm saying. They know what Taj Tariq Bey is saying. They know what Dr. G is saying. They know what everybody's saying when it comes to Constitution and treaty enforcement. Do you know what they're saying? That's the question. Otherwise, you're not speaking the same language we're speaking.
Well, I want to thank
you. And I say that with the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
I want to thank you for what you have done, and even for coming on and putting yourself out there, knowing that there are going to be your detractors and so forth, and the haters. I appreciate you, and many in the chat do appreciate not only this but other information that you have brought to this platform. Grand Sheik is in the building, and he is watching on the big screen. He didn't want to come up and be distracted, but you might want to say a shout out to him because he is watching.
Shout out, Grand Sheik. Hey, and I want to say this too. Y'all can say what y'all want by Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey. If y'all are looking for one of the students, because he has a lot of students, one of the students that actually listened to him and did the works, I'm one of them. I didn't do a UCC back in 2012. All I did was study the Constitution and Treaty like he instructed. And I tried it on a traffic case and I won. I tried it again in a what was it, a car loan, and I won. And I wasn't even in court with the car loan. I just challenged the car loan and I won. And I realized that enforcing the Constitution is pretty much enforcing your common sense. You're just supporting it with the supreme law of the land. Now, if they're saying that according to Massachusetts state law, guess what? If Massachusetts state law or county law or whatever it is goes against the Constitution or treaty, guess what? Article 6. This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. That means it has no standing at law. That means it's void. And the only way it's going to apply to you is if you consent to it. And that doesn't necessarily mean I don't consent. That's not, no. You can consent a whole lot of ways. The one way, it's only one way to not consent. And that's the challenge. So start challenging the people that are before you, calling themselves your foes or your enemies or your opponents, and definitely challenge the people that's sitting right next to you so that you can know that you are as strong as your weakest link and you ain't got no weak links around you because you challenged all of them and they challenged you. And that's what creates trust. Don't trust the personality of a person. Trust the principles of a person. I don't trust none of their personality. I trust their principles. It's like, no, I'm cool with everybody cool. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm glad we
get caught up in personality, and emotion comes from the personality. And then you lose sight of the principle of the person. Right. And then you get heartbroken or let down or shamed or robbed, right? Or they steal from you. That's why. Because it's principles. And the world ain't letting this. Listen, nature is not letting anyone whose principles are corrupt go past this time. Taj Tariq Bey always said it, and I confirmed it. It's in stars. Study the stars. You can know about this. What is it? Sun, moon, and stars. Yeah, we're at the age of Aquarius, the age of knowing. The age of belief is gone. So guess what? Everybody's still attached to that age. You're about to be reset. I warned you. By choice or force. Taj warned you. The news warned you. Everybody's getting warned right now before the great destruction, which we ain't got nothing to do with. I don't want y'all to try to twist that or anything. Nope. We are here to bring light to darkness. That's it.
Well, thank you. To respond, here's a question I can answer. Is Dr. G an L or Bay? I'm an L.
Is ill.
Ill. Okay. Answer your question. Everybody knows. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Appreciate all of you, even though I had to get a little, maternal and matronly with y'all. You know I love you, but just respect the chat, respect each other, and respect my guests, or you will be blocked. With love. As a matter of fact, you'll just be invited to my block party. Look, you'll be invited to my block party. That's what it is. It's a block party. You don't want to go
there. The block party. I've been throwing block parties.
So thank you so much.
Don't think, mother, that your sons here and some of your daughters here. Don't think that we're not going to come to your aid when that. You don't mess with mama like that. We don't play that light. We don't take that lightly whatsoever.
No.
Well, I also want to recognize the empresses that are there. I know one's over there, can't see, and one sister here to the left. But the empresses are there. They're not standing up, but let them know. Come on, tighten up, so we can see you all. Okay, because we got something to say, and we're the ones that are called to uplift fallen humanity. We got to wake up, rise up, and save our, with love, our nation. So it's good to see you all there, and that you all are active and working. Appreciate you. I appreciate you, Brother Lamont L. I can call on you whenever I, have a question and so forth. And the respect and the love is there. And you're not the only one. I don't want nobody to get jealous. You know what I mean? There are others that I do, talk to on a frequent basis. Maybe not as frequent, but I appreciate you. And I want to give a shout out to Brother Sabir Bey for dropping my name about 15 times in his Saturday dissertation diatribe. Never said what I really said, and he also didn't say that I didn't call him. But anyway, thank you for dropping my name, Dr. Naila. But I told Dr. Naila, but thank you, Brother Sabir. I appreciate it because more people maybe know about me now. So,
hey, look, all publicity is good publicity.
And what I gotta say, the last thing I do want to say, August 27th, which is a Friday, we are Grand Sheik and myself are going to have. It's very limited as far as I think we have like about 60 slots for this event. We're going to have a live event on August 27th. I will be putting the information out so that people can get secure their slots for this because it's been over a year since we've had an in-person event. We're not taking away our first and third Friday live streams, but we are adding a fourth Friday, maybe a quarterly venue. I don't think we're going to do it every month, but August 27th will be the first one. We're going to try to make sure that it's done and tasteful, and we have some good fellowships and good food and some vendors. But I know you all want to get up close and personal with Grand Sheik, and some of you even want to get up close and personal with me. So we're gonna do that on August 27th. And if you're on the list, our text list, it'll be going out to the text list. And if you want to have more information about it, you all by now know the number, the 302-345-0500. Just text August 27th, and that means you want information about that event. So we want to thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I want to thank all you all. Look, study. I was reading, again today, and I got a better understanding of when it says study yourself. And then when you ask after that what to do is study yourself, because it's like you study, either you're going to study your lower self and get real familiar with that, and then you need to start study your higher self. So you still got two parts of yourself that there's never you're never at a loss for what to study with you, and you'll find out that both those natures are within you, and whichever one you're going to let have preeminence is the one that's going to rule you. So I want
one more thing. I want to say this: consular jurisdiction is not for foreign territory. It's for foreign jurisdiction. Territory. First word in territory is terra. It deals with the earth. So yes, the United States of America is doing commerce or business in the dominions of Morocco, the Moroccan Empire. So therefore, consular jurisdiction is established. All right. So there's two jurisdictions. All right, not two territories, two jurisdictions. If you are foreign to that jurisdiction, which is called United States, then that means you are to them You are a foreign national. You are a national of the land, foreign to the United States. Foreign deals with jurisdiction. It does not deal with territory. Challenge me and look up foreign in the dictionary. All right. Consular jurisdiction is for foreign jurisdiction, for the disputes between two nationals or two diverse citizenship. And there are multiple types of citizenship, not just I'm a citizen of the United States, or I'm a citizen of the land, or I'm a national of Morocco. It's more citizenships. Look up AA. That's our classification. Aboriginal. That's your classification. Aboriginal. AA. If you've been studying, you'll know that the classification is called in whole AA 222141, and only the sovereign can use that classification. The next classification is called A1. That's for simply nationals that are foreign from other territories. A1 is the citizenship. Please do your research and study so that you can show yourself approved and stop abandoning your birthright, your remedy. It comes under consular jurisdiction. And if you keep saying, oh, we don't have consular, you're lying. And you see the damn wins on the daggone website, then look, you deserve everything you get, with all due respect. So don't believe in consular jurisdiction all you want. All right.
Okay. All right. Oh, listen, I keep saying one more thing, but one more thing. I want to say shout out to one of our faithful. He's always in the chat, Dr. Botanica. Thank you. I received his book today, Stealing a Woman's Treasure. How toxic body care, cosmetics, hygiene, synthetic foods, and hormones are ruining your health. I believe this book, the new book is coming out. The updated version is coming up. And I think I do have something of mine in his new forthcoming book. But thank you so much. Got this today. Just let you know, got it. And you should get this if you want to read about what we're putting in and on our body that may be affecting us. I'm going. I'm tired. I love y'all. I'm going for real. For real this time. I am going out of here. But until next time, you know what? Keep loving yourself and definitely love each other. Love ya.
Love you. Thank you.
Dr. G. Really? Oh, shit. That's me. Dr. G. Really?